Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where and when you are listening. My name is Ojonimi Alfred, and I'm presenting this paper on behalf of myself and my co-authors, Daniel Catalan Matamoros and Carlos Elias Perez. We want to acknowledge funding from the Ministry of Science, Innovation and Universities of the Government of Spain. Studies titled Conspiracy Theories Dominate Spanish Anti-Vaccine Content on TikTok through Linguistic and Algorithmic Evasion. And 5 years post-pandemic, anti-vaccine narratives continue to spread online, particularly through short video platforms such as TikTok. Whilst existing studies to characterize anti-vaccine content in different languages have been on text-based social media platforms such as Twitter and text on Facebook, our study decided to undertake this given the fact that the most recent 2025 Eurobarometer report actually mentioned how that youths in Spain, for example, prefer content in short videos, and also the fact that Spanish is the third most moderated language on TikTok, which actually forms a basis for our exploration into this, into checking the kinds of anti-vaccine narratives prevalent on TikTok, particularly in Spanish. And our study was conducted to ascertain the sources of Spanish anti-vaccine content, the circulation patterns of these narratives, as well as the prevalent issues on the matter on TikTok. And we did this through a content analysis of uh, Spanish content on TikTok. And we did this through two-phased. It was a two-phased analysis where in the first place we did a sparse analysis of 186 videos from a general search of vacuna and anti-vacuna, where we eventually did a snowballing through the audios used in anti-vaccine posts and also hashtags used in disseminating anti-vaccine posts. It was from this we generated a hashtag bank of 50 hashtags, which we eventually used in generating the final sample of 100 posts for our detailed analysis. And we analyzed 100 posts under different categories from the type, the source, the topic, and the features based on the objectives that I had earlier mentioned. And our findings show that conspiratorial anti-vaccine narratives, which are mostly shared by lay people who are non-experts, dominate Spanish TikTok content, and these people make up 90% of the people who share this content. And the fact that even lay people share this content does not mean that there are no scientific or expert sources inherent or detailed in this post. So, for example, 27%, which is a high percentage of these videos, actually cite scientific sources, but basically to suit their narratives, or they cite scientists who are anti-vaxxers or who support anti-vaccine goals. And while also some of these posts cite, reports without specifying by mentioning, a report states that, and all this feed directly into the source credibility theory, which actually helps build the persuasion potency of the posts because it lends credence that an expert is saying this. So why shouldn't you believe this? Which is one of the major things we found out. And the fact that these posts also emanated, a good percentage of these posts emanated from other social media platforms. For example, saying, complete this video in our YouTube channel or follow our Telegram channel to see more. And this shows how that there's a cross-platform dissemination of anti-vaccine narratives on TikTok. And based on the anti-vaccine narratives, we earlier mentioned that conspiratorial narratives actually dominate this. And the conspiracies were likely linked to the fact that they are giving people vaccines for humans to become transhumans and to make them ownable and patented in the future, basically to feed into the control appetite of the elite. This was one of the major conspiratorial narrative we found out, and also the fact that vaccines are biological weapons, all fitting into the depopulation agenda, as well as the fact that this is also a coy for government and its cohorts, particularly big farmers in this case, to make gains from the lives of people. And this largely dominated the conspiratorial narratives, of course, as well as the fact that big pharmaceutical companies have sinister goals. In fact, even emanating from even the names. So, like I showed on the screen here, with Pfizer being converted to Lucifer and rearranged, yeah. And then, as regards the circulation patterns, we discover that they use different terminologies, different strategies, from lip syncing to using a different words to refer to vaccine, from also changing alphabets in letters to evade platform detection algorithms. So, for example, you see them mentioning Lapua or Pinchaso for instead of vaccines, and also changing alphabet to letters to numbers, so that they'll be able to evade and fly away from a platform detection algorithm. And this is really grave, and this was quite popular in common in our sample. And also, one other thing we discovered was the fact that they purposively and purposefully um, cited traditional medium to evade, because when they said when you mention this, you evade the detection algorithm, which is also a point of note for TikTok management to use this to train their algorithm. And based on all these findings, we concluded how that TikTok disinformation detection algorithm remains quite under optimized for Spanish content, given that these samples are quite easy to find on TikTok, and the fact that we also concluded on the fact that the youths in Spain or in other Spanish speaking countries remain exposed to conspiratorial narratives about vaccine. And based on this, we recommended that counter messaging strategies should be developed by public health authorities to respond to these particular narrative, to these particular issues posed, and not a blanket kind of response to it. And also the fact that language specific algorithms should be developed by TikTok, not only focusing on some languages and under optimizing for others. Thank you for listening.